Very good evening to all of you guys. The main topic of this chat is risk or reward, understanding the impact of new age technology. All of you guys are from a very different portfolio. We have a woman who's leading a healthcare firm over here. Then we have somebody who's running a school business, and from HR analytics, HR businesses to you, sir. So there's a huge different mix of businesses who are using technology in this modern day and age. I'll start to open this conversation with Mr. Ravi. So Ravi, you come from a very traditional brand, if I were to say, right?
Yeah.
Because VLCC has been
There.
a household name in India since
Yeah.
many years, right? And it's somewhere very similar to us as Jagran,
Yeah.
because Jagran का अखबार हर किसी के घर में बड़े सालों से जा रहा
बड़े
है.
सालों
But we are Jagran New Media. We've adapted to the digital trends and technology, and we're doing a very good job at it. And I mean, I would like to hear from you in terms of uh, how have you implemented this modern day tech age AI LLM models into your existing ecosystem? Yeah.
Yeah. So as rightly said, VLC is been there 30 years in the market, and we have seen all the phases of the market from different times, and now it's a very unique and a exciting time, as Khare was saying. We should jump on the opportunities and jump on things, excitement that so many things are going these days. So as far as new technology is concerned, we also come across a lot of problems since we are such a huge business, and we are in there in three fields. We are in VLC education. VLC is also in education in terms of VLC institutes. We are there for VLC products as our FMCG company and VLC services. So across, we have all the three different ways of doing business, and with those different verticals, we came across a lot of problems on a day-to-day basis, and those 5,000 employees of ours, and their productivity is our one of our key metrics that we want to improve, and customer experience, of course. So when we come across these new technologies, there are a lot of technologies where we talk about a concern on somebody's face in terms of acne, some sort of spots, darks, or those sort of things can be done by AI, and we are trying on those things. When it comes to customer call, how do our customers is satisfied on the call? How did our agent did a call, and what was it about? Was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? What was the feedback on that experience? How was the overall consultation happened at a clinic level? So we came across a lot of problems on those, and we are experimenting on a lot of Gen AI kind of experiments on those things.
Right. I mean, see, moving beyond chatbots, we're now talking about generative AI. Chatbots, I feel, is like a 10-year-old conversation in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because that was to automate the call centers.
Yeah.
Now, generative AI can predict so many things. And when it comes to, say, your user's persona,
Yeah.
in terms of a traditional VLCC persona, a user who's now transformed into the other education and the other bits that you mentioned. How do you interrelate, get that data sets going for you, and how do you draw ethical framework around it in terms of, what data can you use across your different companies?
So I will answer the second part later, the
Yeah.
ethical part of it. The first about it, what all we do, what all we can do and what all we do. So for example, I'll give you a very straight example that we have something called skin analyzer. When a customer comes to us, we ask them to scan their face. And when they scan their face, it tells you the concern over the face. And then based on the concern, they get to realize, okay, if a machine is telling me something, it's more like unbiased. So for example, if my beauty advisor says, okay, you have this concern, you might treat it like, okay, it's a sales pitch, or it might not be that serious, but this guy is telling me for a sales experience or a sales one. But when a system says it comes as unbiased. Plus, when a system says it says with a kind of a metrics, or you are out of 1 to 10, you are there, you are 7, you are 8, you are 10, or you are 9 out of 10. So those sort of things really help. The ethical part of it, I think with AI, this ethical part is always a question, and then privacy is also always a question.
Right.
So we are being very careful about it. We are not involving any personal data over those things. you know, everything has a two problem, the two part. One is what is the problem? Second part is who has this problem. So when you divide that two things differently, what is the problem and who has the problem, and you treat it differently, then you're a more secure approach. So right now we're just trying to see, okay, where all we can, you know, predict the problem, solve the problem, and not get into the way who has the problem.
Right. I'll come back to you on that. I have multiple follow-up questions on that. But moving to Mark. Mark, you lead technology for a prominent school brand, right? And when we talk about, you know, the Gen Zs and the Alpha generation, the one that probably is in your school right now, and I'm pretty sure we have a lot of parents over here in the crowd as well. And there is, you know, the benefits of AI are immense, right? In terms of how easy it is for anybody to understand and access all the information out there on the world. But at the same time, there is somewhere sort of, when you talk about learning in particular, education in particular, sort of a thing, you know, that, okay, how do we protect our children? How do we protect the students from this? How do they not write their answers from ChatGPT, if I were to ask it very simply? So what are your thoughts on that?
Right. So, I mean, there are a bunch of things that have been out there in the industry at this point in time when you look at it from a security standpoint. I mean, while Gen AI and how plagiarism gets impacted in one aspect of it, I would also cover, you know, something as basic as when you look at security and when you want to enable students to have devices in the school and access internet, you know, something as basic as can they access a certain site, can they not access a certain site, has to be dynamic in nature. I think those are the areas where AI becomes really helpful to be able to come up with this thing. But when it comes down specifically to plagiarism, I don't think there are any tools out there that can actually come back and tell you that, hey, you know, we are 100% sure that whether this text was generated using a Gen AI tool or not. But they give you probabilistic models. So they will tell you, come back and say, hey, it's about 30% or 40% AI generated. Rest is up to you to be able to figure it out.
Right.
But some of the Gen Zs can really bypass those things as well, and they keep coming back with newer versions of it. So it's difficult to put a number to it.
Interesting. So, I mean, see, this is one side of it, but the other side of it, how it can act as an assistant in terms of like a home tutor, a tutor that's always available to you on a smartphone. We recently saw Apple launching something as Math Notes on their latest iOS, right? I was in California for their conference where they announced this. Very interesting thing, very big feat in terms of what AI can achieve in the education system. A very complex trigonometry question, which would require a teacher with 20 years of experience in that particular domain, can now be done by an AI model, right on your phone. So that is also like a very progressive, a very positive side to it. But how do you train your students, you train your educators, your teachers to, you know, use that into a positive way? And like maybe devise a test around AI in schools, if I were to say. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, just to give you an equivalent parlance or an example from an historic time, you could have been a student in the school who just has access to, let's say, an outstanding tutor. And when the child goes back home and uses the help from a tutor and comes back and does something, the school or the teacher has absolutely no idea about what needs to happen. So I think as a school ecosystem, what is absolutely important is the ability to be able to build a culture that allows the students to say, hey, we're doing this for your benefit, and getting them on your side of the story, you know, which is where the human involvement sort of comes in the first place to be able to make it work, and then building it out from there. You know, historically, we've been using tools like MathSpace or MathType, which have been out there, the students have access to it, but it's also about, you know, like our CEO typically keeps coming back to us and say, can you ask your students a question that Google cannot answer? So it's also about now focusing on not just the answers, which is a very small piece to the puzzle, but focusing on the questions and saying, can you draft questions that something like a Gen AI may not have a response to? And it's about perspectives.
And yeah, I mean, I also feel that prompt training and in terms of, you know, what prompts you need to give to AI in terms of asking the right questions, right, is the biggest challenge. And that's another training exercise that, of course, can happen. Okay, moving on to Mr. Ravinder now. Mr. Ravinder, you lead a recruiting firm, right? And there's a lot of role of big data sets that you constantly work with, right? How does artificial intelligence come into the picture for you when you're doing your pre-hiring screenings that you're famous for?
See, AI is something like, one is that AI is based on what is already there, and the data has been captured and the answers are been built up. Second is predictive AI, which Abhishek just now in the previous session said that we don't work on that. So AI is more or less is helping you to automate things and to find out from the data which a human might take long, and AI can generate those responses faster. Like in our job platform, when we have started way back in July 2020, it was a normal job portal where people were job posting and candidates were applying. Then we added pre-hiring assessments, so to filter out the candidates. And now we have come out with using AI and different features. We are saying that you post your job in 2 minutes, get 100 leads in 30 minutes, and your hiring can be closed in 1 day. So AI is basically expediting the entire process. What human does in 15, 20 days, AI can do it in maybe a day time or maybe a 30 minutes time. But still, now when we talk about AI assessed resumes or AI build up resumes, now one side recruiters are looking for AI resumes, candidates are building resumes through AI only.
Right.
So the matching is not happening. Right. Now in our case, what we are doing that we have built up an algorithm to which like the skill and the experience and the locations are matched with respect to the JD, and candidates are being prompted. So it is up to the, again, human intelligence comes that where the recruiter is going to speak to the candidate individually, but the leads are generated within 30 minutes. So AI has expedited the entire process from months to 30 minutes.
Interesting. Like, I mean, there's a hybrid approach to things, right? There is a strong offline verification of whatever AI is suggesting you. And we've seen other recruitment platforms offer AI-built resumes already on their websites. So, what is the threat to it from your industry's perspective in terms of, if sometimes if you were to shortlist, say, about 10,000 resumes, hypothetically speaking, for a particular role, and the model has been trained in a way that, or the algo has been trained in a way that, it is only looking for certain aspects, which might get missed out if it were a human manually doing that, right? Because HR, human resources, is still a very soul-driven process. Sometimes you meet a person, you might not like their resume, but when you meet them in person, it's a different story altogether, right? So how does that threat impact you when you use your AI tools?
You see, that's what I said, that our entire focus is that the life of the recruiter should become more easy. Right. So AI, the way you said, like 10,000 resumes searching, AI can do much better, and the human which they can skip off, it can pick up. So that's what I'm saying, that AI is used to process to automate the process which a human is doing repetitively. So we are using AI only on those processes, but technically, like today, there is a resume which has been built up by AI. So AI is going to pick up that resume. Like I've spent my 27 years in skilling, and most of the recruiters who are associated and placing students from my campuses, they used to say that the biodata is different, and the person when we meet in person is different. So the same is happening in online resumes, and most of the stories, if you read, it is talking about fake resumes. Till the time, human intervention is must. But yes, AI is expediting our processes much faster than we could do otherwise.
Interesting. I mean, that's a very interesting insight over there. I mean, the hybrid approach, of course, the human touch cannot really go away. AI is only there to make things more efficient, if I were to put it briefly, right? Interesting. Okay, moving on to Neha. Neha, you're in the health tech space, right, with your organization, and that for me is a very interesting segment in particular. I was going through your website and I saw a couple of products that you guys have in the market already. My first point of contention, if I were to say, was that, okay, you have a device which does ECG. My smartwatch does that too. But then I read a bit more and I dwelled down deep into it. They aren't medically certified, but what you do are non-invasive devices, right? Which help you give a better result. And your data is what is going into some LLMs as well. So you're feeding the algo. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So continuing with what Sir said, when we talk about AI or technology in healthcare, it's not artificial intelligence, it's always augmented intelligence. You cannot take away the human touch, and you cannot, there's a lot of buzz that, if in future there would be machines who would, take away the job of doctors and would do a doctorless diagnosis. No, that is not going to happen anytime soon. But having said that, in countries like India, the doctor-patient ratio is so skewed, and doctors are so pressed, and especially people are, they take action only when something bad happens. So we need to move towards a preventive care model rather than the reactive care. So talking about what we do, we develop devices which are medically validated, just because those smartwatches and those bands, they give you data. They'll tell you this is your heart rate, this is your blood pressure, but are doctors able to take some action on that data? They will just rubbish it away, right?
Right.
And for that, if we really want to make technology work for health, we need to first have machines or devices which are medically validated and as accurate and precise as a doctor's machine. So that's the number one challenge, and that's the number one thing that Agatsa is doing, that we are making devices which anybody can use it at their home, and they can take their medical data as complex as ECG, because nobody has done it in the world till now. So when Apple says ECG in their watches, it's a rubbish data. Please don't take it to your doctor. Doctor will not take any action on that data, but our devices are being used by the doctors themselves in their clinics. When we started commercially selling our devices, they were, 70% of doctors use those devices, precisely because number one, ECG is something that only doctors needed to take, because people don't know why I need to take my ECG.
Right.
And number two, they were so medically accurate, and they developed a report which is like a hospital grade machine, and doctor is able to diagnose. That is the number one differentiator which Agatsa devices are.
So you also mentioned in one of your earlier interviews, which I was going through, that your data is being fed into the LLM models, right?
Correct.
How do you A, do that? Can you give us some examples? And B, what is the ethical framework around it? If, for example, somebody is using your services, do you make them sign a consent form that, okay, we're going to use this data to train AI models on it?
Yeah. So as I said, AI in health is never artificial intelligence. We are working on models where, in future, as I said, that the whole goal is to make, have that movement of people from reactive to proactive healthcare. Now, to do that, you are feeding your data, you're monitoring your heart, you're monitoring your blood pressure, you're monitoring, and the devices are so easy to use that they're not, making it sound like, a hell lot of tasks. They are so easy to use. So now that data which is coming, we just feed into our algorithms as a 35-year-old male data. So there's no name to it. There's no there's no face to it, and the ethical part just goes away, because obviously we are not exposing the whole, that this person is having this disease. And those data is because there are no machines. There are no machines till now which are able to take accurate health data. And unless and until we when we employ technology to solve critical health problems, there's no meaning of technology, Right. The person before me, he said that the whole goal of a human is to live longest and to be the fittest. So health is the top priority, right? And if tomorrow you are using the device, and if tomorrow you get an alert that, since your lifestyle is this, your habits are this, your diet is this, and your health data is showing this, your heart data is showing this, there is a probability of you getting a heart disease is this much. You will definitely stop smoking, you will definitely stop going to the pubs, and you will definitely start, getting a good diet and exercise. So that is the whole, that is the whole premise on which Agatsa is working.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. So Ravi, back to you. We've always talked about innovation moving forward, bringing in new things to the system, but somebody leading technology, again, for a legacy brand like VLCC, Has it ever happened that things have gone wrong? Like you've implemented a new tool which clearly didn't work out? Can you give us some examples of that?
So as a very standard practice of technology, we don't do anything,
A/B testing, all of that.
yeah, we do always do A/B testing. It's all about how more profound A/B testing you do. Of course, there are things that goes wrong in business when it comes to ground reality, because when you're talking about the entire landscape of India, there are different cities, different location, different weather. Everything is different at different times, and then seasons changes. So things of course goes otherwise, and you have steps for it, but most of them are already being hinted, or you already get hints about those in those A/B testing. So those things are always there, but I did not came across like something blunder happened those, because until unless you don't do A/B testing, those are right chances.
Interesting. Okay, Mark, if you were to give like a two-liner to all the parents out there uh, on how to tackle technology, how to tackle these AI models, and how they can make their children smarter, and how can do like a home exercise around it, something on those lines.
Oh, I think one interesting insight that I can share so far is that, not just for our school, but for a lot of schools in the city and the country which are prominent, a lot of parents keep coming back and saying, hey, we do not want technology at all for our kids. Forget about AI, forget about anything else, right? So I think one way in which we've been tackling this is we not just ask our students to use technology tools which are available or AI tools which are available, but we've been running an AI curriculum that actually helps students understand the underlying technology principles that contribute towards building up of new AI models. So even when they go back and they're using something, they're not just exploring what is already available for consumption, but they are focused on creation, because ultimately you want them to be social entrepreneurs that contribute to the GDP of the country, as opposed to merely being using stuff which is already out there. Right. But yeah, I mean, the usual parental concerns which we do not have answers to but keep coming back is, how do you put time limit to the overall technology usage back at home,
Right.
and things like that. But what we've done is there is enough sophisticated technologies out there, like MDMs and other things, which do put in some level of filter. So if you were a parent and you were to allow your child to use a device, which you would anyways do because they'll have phones, they'll have gaming consoles and a lot of other things, we do help them create a sandbox which is driven by AI, which allows them to utilize or explore the world of technology, but in a controlled way, something that the parents can also do.
Interesting. Okay. Mr. Ravinder, if you were to brief the audience over here, because they're all corporate employees, right? In terms of how they can harness the power of AI in just shaping their CVs in a better way, or the next time they're applying for a new job, or just logging into your portal, how can they get those basic checkboxes in place?
Well, we have Ravi from VLCC. It is the person, the lady, not the makeup.
Pardon?
I'm saying it is the lady, not the makeup. Yeah. Makeup is going to last for maybe an hour or two. Ultimately, the AI, let's say I'll give you an example that way back when I had my first phone installed at home, I was, I think, 12, 13 years old. So making a STD call used to take 4, 5, or 10 hours. Now today, if you ask somebody that you spend 10 hours to make a STD call, nobody is going to do that. Now it is only we have to accept what has changed. And the newer things has to become a part of our academia as well as our mental aptitude. Today what is happening is that one side we are saying the children should not go for AI, other side the parents are doing everything using AI. So the part is that amalgamation of what was there in my generation and what is there in my children's generation has to be adapted. Now when because I come from the academia, now today if you ask somebody to do math, total if you allow, I mean since some of the entrance tests, calculator is allowed. Now whereas in my childhood, calculator was a new thing. Yeah. It was not there. So we have to accept whatever has come. Like today if somebody build up a resume using AI, your resume will be picked up definitely. But if you have the skills at the time of interview, then only you will be taken up. Otherwise not. So I think we must liberate them and we must find out on the other side of it, or this side of table, that how can we identify and how can we make ourselves adequate so that the learning happens faster. Now today Akbar ka beta kaun tha? I don't need to learn. It is there in just one tap.
Yeah.
Like BTech books are still 50 years old.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and all of that information now you can have in wearables as well. Like the prompts that you really, really need. I have those smart Ray-Ban glasses, and most of the times there's a feature in that which is called look and see. So I can like look at a very complex situation, and you know, if I have to go from point A to point B, there's just a random map. It'll tell me the shortest way to go. So you know, it's evolving as Sir said, and if you don't pay heed to it, you'll be left behind. And you know, like calls, if you were to call somebody in the US, as you were mentioning, 90%, I believe in my profession, being a journalist, 90% of my calls are from PR people, right? They're selling some story, selling some product, something or the other. They can all be automated by, you know, just my voice saying, okay, hi, I'm Konak this side. Can you just drop me your brief on a WhatsApp message or something like that? So it's just helping us solve, being more efficient in general. And, you know, moving on to you, Neha, for the last question. And then we'll leave it open to the public because it's a Friday night and it's almost 7:30. So I won't keep you guys for much longer. Neha, you know, as you mentioned in terms of the data accuracy that your products offer versus say an Apple Watch, or say Samsung has launched a ring now, which is a wearable, and you can like sleep with it and it can help you track your sleep better. There are smart mattresses out there in the market where you just sleep on them and they'll tell you how well did you sleep, if you needed to sleep on the other side, how were you breathing. There's so much of data sets happening. Uh, your key differentiator remains to be the medical clarity on your things, right? Going forward, you know, do you think your products can differentiate on more grounds and more levels rather than just the medical bit of it?
Yeah, so as I said, our products are not fashion fads. So they're
Right.
not rings, they're not. See, I never wear a smart watch because if my watch is dead, I won't be able to see the time also. Leave
Right.
apart the, data and health data and all. So it has to be so precise and it has to be so useful. And it needs to do the job which it needs to do. And our differentiator, as I said, firstly, it's like accurate data is the must because you know health you cannot play around with data कि कुछ भी आपने feed कर दिया and you know you are panicked कि अरे ये क्या हो रहा है मेरे को heart attack पड़ रहा है. So it has to be accurate and it has to be believed by the doctor. Because at the end of the day, you are taking the data to the doctor only and doctor is going to treat you. As I said, it is still a very, very far away day where, you know, you will not need doctors and you will get the treatment also by technology. But getting the data is just the first step. And as I said, there are no devices in the world which can calculate this accurate data and the accurate insights about your body. And we are not just, we started with ECG, the heart data, but now we are moving on to blood pressure data, the SpO2 data, and other things, and even prickless blood sugar data. Now, those data, when they are, used to model the algorithm model, big data models, that has the, power to predict something. So first step is I took my ECG and my mobile app flashed that, it seems that you have this disease. Rush to a doctor, because most of the lives they are lost not because a person did not feel any symptom. 99% of heart attacks, they give you some symptoms much before then they happen. Like, आज major heart attack पड़ा है, मेरे को एक हफ्ता पहले से पता चलना शुरू हो जाएगा. But people keep ignoring. People think that it is something else. So we need to have products which make that differentiator that no, boss, this is heart attack, you have to rush. Number one. Number two, of course, if I see the disease, then also not all heart diseases are heart attacks. Not all heart diseases lead to heart attacks. Some will actually lead to treatment and management and improvement. So that is one step. And the next step is, as I said, as I always keep on mentioning, the pandemic has taught us all that you have to be preventive about your health. You cannot wait for the, disease to happen. And if, the AI in our app or the data that you are monitoring over the time can tell you that, this is the probability, this is the prediction that, you will have, be it genetics, as sir mentioned, be it your habits, be it your lifestyle or stress, and the heart, what actually is going on inside your body. So if you start managing, if you start, taking care of it now, you start sleeping early, you start taking a good
Right.
diet, you will, you can save yourself.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I think this has been a very interesting, very diverse set of people, very diverse set of industries sitting here. So thank you so much for your time.